cardiovascular system is under attack. Everybody knows it. And I've got in my hands 2 products that are absolutely insane when it comes to what they do for your body and your overall health. One of them is the highest grade fish oil you can find. Everybody knows how good fish oil is. This is as good as it gets. And when you purchase it at InfoWarsStore.com, you support the broadcast, a 360 win. And then, of course, Nitric Boost. You've heard all the rage about this. A whole bunch of concentrated natural compounds that clean out your blood and clean out your cardiovascular system. Everybody should be taking both of these products at InfoWarsStore.com. And both of them, by the way, are 40% off for a limited time. Now, this sale's going to end in about 2 weeks because we've already sold out of more than half of these products since they came back in. But if you want to get Ultimate Fish Oil and Nitric Boost for 40% off, get them both today at InfoWarsStore.com. I want to thank you all for supporting the broadcast. I want to thank you all for spreading the word, because without you, we are nothing.
It's Monday, June 10th, in the year of our Lord, 2024. And you're listening to The American Journal with your host, Alex Jones. Watch it live right now at band.video.
And follow us on the Mighty X platform. I'm at Real Alex Jones, and the great Harrison Smith is at
Harrison H. Smith.
Well, InfoWars is in its twilight right now, and our enemies have gone from denying it. That was their goal all along. They just always, whatever I say, they say the opposite. And now they came out in AP Reuters. Okay, it's true. We wanted Jones to be under our control, to say what we wanted him to say, and he would not do it. Wow. The rare moment of honesty, and they even say, we are triumphant over the First Amendment. We are going to silence him. That is coming up, the truth of what's really going on, because this Reuters article is about 80% accurate. But compared to other corporate media, that's a stunning accuracy rate. Because I've lived this. I know this forwards and backwards. This is a big, big deal. But first, I want you to know, coming up in about 24 minutes from now, at the bottom of the hour, we've got a big, exciting announcement and more coming up. And then in the days and weeks to come, a lot more is going to be happening with how many days until the election? 140 something?
Something like that.
So 143 days, 144 days, we'll look that up, because there is so much to talk about, so much to get into, so much to break down. All right, let's get back. Some stations just joined us at that 6 after. We a little 5-minute for some of the stations that don't carry us, but internet doesn't want to hear 5 minutes of our ads, so we don't carry local news. Obviously, we're in national, international program. So we join a lot of stations at 6 after. I was getting into use the term devastation of the establishment in Europe. So to quantify this, we've got all the numbers. I covered it last night. More of the numbers are in. I know when I leave after this hour, you're going to drill into all those numbers. In fact, we start talking about some of those right now, but not just the dominant parties lost control, but all their little sub-coalition parties in parliamentary systems. Again, it's not 2 parties. They can add up, and that's how you can have a very unpopular government like Netanyahu or Macron or Trudeau stay in power. That's how they do this. But at a certain point, when all of the different groups can't combine forces to vote out whoever's got the most votes, which is populist nationalist parties polling at 40, 45% in Canada and similar numbers in Europe, then they have to have a snap election. And we're seeing that happen right now. And of course, they're admitting that people want to control the borders. They don't want World War III or World War IV with Russia, and they don't want their energy cut off. They don't want their farms shut down. So humanity's fighting for its life right now. Harrison Smith, give us your take on this.
Oh, there's so many aspects that you just brought up. I mean, even starting with the last thing you said, the farmers. It's so strange now that you've got all these articles being written saying, farmers are going far right. Apparently just being able to feed your family or continue the work that your family's done for generations.
Farmers don't want all their farms shut down because, quote, carbon's evil. Farmers don't want to starve to death. How is it evil? Freaking white supremacy.
Yes, they must be racist. They must be bigots,
and the farmers
obviously.
are rioting in Sri Lanka 10 years after their farms were shut down. The whole country collapsed. How dare those white supremacists? What the hell's your problem? We're just taking everything you got away from you. What the hell's your problem? We're just giving you poison shots. You silence the bitches?
Yeah. And look, the parliamentary system also, I mean, there's other aspects to that. I know at least in the UK, probably in other European countries, they can't have, like, by definition, they cannot have a Donald Trump. They always promote from within their party. The Conservative Party or the Liberal Party in the UK will always recruit somebody from within its own ranks who's
Very
already in the party.
insulary.
Super insulary, super just controlled. Just no, there's no outsider that can come in and take the party over. It's always promoted from within. So it's very controlled. And then if you look up, because I was just searching yesterday, red wave, or I guess it wouldn't be a red wave, but the right-wing wave in Europe. And I remember that at the beginning of this year, they had lots of talks about this. This was the year of the elections, and there are elections all over the world, and the World Economic Forum and the Global Government Summit were getting together to say this could be really dangerous. How do we control this?
And their answer was, we've got to get trust again.
Yeah, well, right. It was we have to stop the people who call out our lies from
and they hit the button. We want total censorship now. That's how we get trust.
Yep.
From Australia to Europe to Canada, draconian laws like 10 years in prison for speech. But now all that's collapsing in Australia. Did you know that?
Well, it's
and the carbon tax.
Yeah, it's collapsing all over. And, the interesting, it's so bizarre. Obviously, we're fighting a war in Ukraine for democracy. And yet, they do polls where 95% of respondents in the UK say we want less migration. And yet the migration continually goes up. So there is no democracy for real in Europe. It's all an illusion. It's all a complete.
And new Gallup poll out here, 2/3 of Americans, it's higher. They usually want to be politically correct. Want illegal aliens grabbed and deported.
It
was 50% a few years ago.
Yeah, well, because people are actually feeling the effects. It's gotten to so bad they're actually feeling the effects. But then you've got parties like the AfD in Germany, which has had massive success. It just continues to grow. And yet the more popular it gets, the more the establishment is saying, you're all terrorists, you're domestic extremists.
Well, the EU is moving to move them off the EU ballot.
Yeah, because they're so popular.
Now as good as all this is, the EU is not like America. It started in 1947 with a steel cooperative agreement. And then with the Treaty of Rome in 56 became really a government, but they kept it quiet. And then in 1999, officially they launched the euro. But there is the original EU board that is unelected. And then the parliament is ceremonial, but they represent the governments, so they can go back to the governments who can then move to pull out of the EU. And that's why the EU will collapse, is when the parliaments all vote through the EU parliament to do what they want and not turn off the power, turn off the food, turn off the fertilizer, bring in all the illegal aliens with stabbing attacks and murder exploding. And then when they don't do that, well, then the EU collapses.
Right. Well,
but the EU has always said, we'll just start a war for unification. That's why they're starting the war with Russia. That's another key part of why they want the war with Russia to last decades, they're saying, to keep the EU together.
That makes sense from a purely cynical, transaction sort of based outlook on the world. Yeah, you can keep Europe together if that's the ultimate goal. You're just going to kill millions of people and get nuclear bombed while you do it. It's absurd that NATO, Europe is actively going to war with Russia in a very real and obvious way, talking about conscription at a time when, the democracy that they claim to champion is clearly and obviously being exposed.
Zelensky's no longer elected. He's banned all political opposition and taken over the media. Like Hitler was elected, but then he banned all opposition, took over the media. The Nazis are always like, well, Hitler was elected. Yeah, the president. And then von Hindenburg said he was a gutter snipe, had a stroke, and Germany was about to collapse. So he said, okay, I'll give it to Hitler. And then he died. And then, the rest of the story. Well, okay. But moving on from Hitler, it's the same thing with Zelensky now. He was elected, but now he has banned all opposition and ended elections. So that's how you can become a dictator even though you're elected.
Right. And whether it's what's happening in Europe or what's happening here in America, this is something I keep trying to get across with things like how they're shutting down InfoWars, how they're going after Donald Trump. This is what tyranny looks like. It always starts by mimicking the process of legitimate government. It always has show trial. You have to have show trials. People expect, or they think that if the troops aren't goose-stepping down Main Street, then you're not under tyranny. This is what tyranny looks like. This is the way it operates. It always insinuates itself by mimicking or using and utilizing the legitimate forms of power until it can get enough power to just disregard those and go, well, you can't stop me anyway, so I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. But it always acts like what it's doing is in the legitimate path.
But it's okay, mainstream media says there's not an appetite for an election. No, Zelensky and the NATO controllers said we're not having an election basically ever.
Yeah, well, until the war's over, and the war's over when he decides. And
well, the EU has said Stoltenberg and Macron's government, they've been saying, as their prospectus to the world, don't worry, Europe's a good investment. We're not going to collapse because this war will last 20 to 30 years, and we're building weapons factories. Oh, for permanent war, 1984. War is peace.
And the weapons factors will be very carbon neutral, Alex, so it'll be fine. Right?
Yeah, we can't have those Dutch farms, the best farmers in the world, hand down. Type in CNN. We must reduce production of rice because it produces carbon, because they grow it in swamps that create methane. So, folks, methane's part of the atmosphere. It helps hold the atmosphere in. It's a good gas. Again, I saw a big study just a week ago. I meant to cover it. I didn't. There were twice as many bovine, more than twice, something like, it's almost 3 times, twice as many bovine cows. They're just, you can mate a Jersey cow with a buffalo, folks, or a Brangus with a buffalo. You can go to Africa, water buffalo, or go to Asia, water buffalo can mate with your cow. It's a cow, folks, okay? And there were almost 3 times more bovine, over 70 million bovine at their peak in America. There were bison all over the country, all over the nation, okay? And you know the rest of the story. So 70 plus million bovine, and it's something like 20 million now. So they were farting. That's what they do. They eat grass. They've got multiple stomachs. They break down the cellulose, pass it into another. There's bacteria that then eat it and then produce, just like you can make cheese and stuff with bacteria. Cows literally produce this, and then they pass methane in the process. It's good. Okay, I'm explaining again. There were almost 3 times more cows when white men arrived here. Comprende? So now they're putting big bags in Canada and Europe on the horrible tubes up their butts. Here it is right here, see? To take it away and then store it and then pump it into in the ground, saying methane's evil. Ladies and gentlemen, this is literal bullshit. I mean, this is bullshit at a level never before seen, and they think you're that stupid. I'm saying it again. Almost 3 times the cows. In fact, I meant to cover that like 2 weeks ago. Guys, go print me all the data. What was the peak of bison in North America? How many cows we've got now? I know I got the numbers basically right, but I'm going to show people this and let it sink in. They've already banned 30% of the cows in the Netherlands, saying their farts are evil. They're banning them all over. They're banning them in Ireland. And they say almost all of them be gone within 10 years. That kills the farms, kills you to be able to eat beef. You say, oh, that'll never happen. I told you this decades ago. It's coming. Now it's here. It's the murder of logic, the murder of common sense, the murder of everything. This is ridiculous BS.
Yeah, well, and just to tie it all together, why are there no longer so many bison in America? It's because the natives used them for food, and the Anglos and the whites who were settling decided we can't defeat the Indians on the battlefield because they just run away and we can never catch them in the hills. So we'll kill their food supply, and that will drive them out of the land. So the bison in America literally got taken out for the exact same reason that the cows today are being taken out, to deprive the food source of the people that you want to destroy. It's literally the exact same playbook that was run in the American West.
And the UN said back in 1993, it was 94, the World Food Summit in Beijing, the head of it said, we're going to use food as a control mechanism and as a weapon in the future. Right. How did the communists, when they took over Russia, use food? How did Mao Zedong control people? Food. How did Pol Pot control people? Food. How did they control people in Venezuela? Food. You don't let people be independent. You totally control them. Now the cows have bird flu. Oh, you need to wear a mask. Give them PCR tests. None are dying. It's all made up. They said this Mexican guy that died in Mexico City died of bird flu. Mexican government put out a release said it's not true. They came with a fake PCR test and tested his dead body.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and isn't it such a coincidence that there's all these various reasons that all the cows have to be culled? You have to cull the cows because of climate change, or you have to cull the cows because we need the land to build windmills. That's something going on in the UK right now. They're forcing farmers off the land in prime farm real estate. Kicking off the land to build windmills.
It's because it's an incredible source of energy for humans. You can put cows out in the fields. If you want premium beef, you feed them corn and crap. It's like a regular, quote, grass-fed beef. Tastes better. It's leaner. My family raises it in East Texas. That's how we pay the property taxes. And all over the world, from India to you name it, people subsist on the cows.
Of course.
So if you take the cows away, I mean, the Bible starts after God creates the universe, creates the earth. It obsesses in the entire Old Testament about cows. You read Hinduism, 3,000 years old. The Vedic scriptures are obsessed with cows. They worship them, okay? People also worship the sun. If you're an ancient, there's these big, juicy, delicious things. Give us milk and give us cream. And then if you're a meat eater, beef. And then they do all, and you just put them out there and you've got them. And then all this stuff comes, and then also the sun sun, you know it makes everything grow. It's warm. I worship cows. I worship the sun. And what is, which I don't say I do, I'm saying ancients. And what is Bill Gates? Oh, we got to block the sun out and all this crap. And the chemtrails. It's literally demonic attacking carbon. You are the carbon they want to reduce. And I know this audience understands that, but this is insane. And I kind of went off on a sidetrack about the attack on all resources, but that's why they're cutting off the natural gas, cutting off the oil, killing the major pipelines, destroying the infrastructure. The CIA with the Pentagon blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, doubling the prices of Europe's energy, raping them, screwing them. I mean, this is a total war on the infrastructure by labeling all the pro-life infrastructure as bad. In all the real studies, it's one of the known factors that made our atmosphere get thicker and habitable was life on Earth putting off methane. Whether you're a bacteria or whether you're a plant or whether you're a swamp, which is bacteria in there, or whether you're a cow or a human, you put off methane, boys and girls. What do you think's coming out of your ass, okay? Okay? So understand, they are literally saying you are bad. You are evil. No, you're not. Methane is good. Oxygen is good. Carbon dioxide is good. I used to go out and repeat what I saw Penn and Teller do like 30 years ago. They had a show on HBO or Net News. I mean, I forget what it was, Showtime or something. And they would go out, because they're not total communists, and they would go out and say, you know, there's this thing called dihydrogen monoxide. It's really causing problems, has a side effect of a lot of urination. We'd like you to sign this petition to ban it. Absolutely, I'll sign a petition. Dihydrogen monoxide is water, folks. They would then go and use the scientific name for salt, which is...
Sodium
chloride, which sounds, whoa, chloride, sodium chloride. And it's and people would just go, I'm banning that. And so we would go out and 90% of people would sign the damn position on the hike and bike trail.
Right.
And one guy starts hitting on McAdoo, and she was doing it. Well, I'm actually a chemist from Cornell. You bet. I want to ban that water. I mean, dihydrogen monoxide, folks.
Yeah, well, you know, most murderers are shown to have consumed hydrogen dioxides before, you know, murdering somebody. So clearly, it's got to be wrong. You can always twist things like that, and at a certain, you know, when it's kept in that sort of academic realm, when people don't know really what they're talking about, you can get away with a lot of stuff. But I think what's happening now, and just to tie it in again to the elections in Europe, when you're actually shutting down farms, when you're actually destroying the infrastructure, when the German industrial base is being dismantled in front of you, it's
and by the way, it was the most powerful in the world for the last 200 years.
And it's being actively dismantled in a way that it can't be turned back on. I mean, some of these, you know, energy production plants.
That's what Elon Musk has been warning. If you turn this son of a bitch off, if you turn off the industrial base, billions will die. And he tells the globalists, and you think you're going to be able to orderly get rid of them. No, there's going to be huge wars. That's why Musk has joined us out of pure self-preservation. Yeah. He said to them at the World Economic Forum, World Government Summit 8 months ago, he said, you're crazy. The plan ain't working. Stop it. People go, well, he's probably still with them. Dude, he may have been Dr. Evil. Are you bitching at Darth Vader when he's throwing Palpatine down the mine shaft? I mean, down the reactor shaft?
Right, right.
And he's like grabbing Palpatine to throw him down. You're like, wait a minute, used to be a bad guy.
Right. Well, and you know, I think a little bit of skepticism is always healthy with somebody like Musk, because he likes to troll and he likes to, you know, he wears the devil suit and that freaks people out. But obviously, if you look at what he's done, if you look at him talking to the World Economic Forum and saying to their faces what they're doing wrong, he clearly is on the side of humanity, which is it's a shame that it's such a unique and you know, unseen thing is that this guy doesn't want to kill everybody, and people literally can't believe that. They literally think, no, the one guy that doesn't want to kill everybody, it can't be true. Everyone must want to kill everybody. But he recognizes that what's going on is literally suicidal.
Well, I mean, exactly. He shows all the actuaries that I've been showing for 30 years. It's not about territorialism. I know what he's saying is true because I already know that. Right. It's not like, oh, you're just listening to Musk. You're just copying what he says. No. We're seeing the same empirical facts.
You're both just telling the truth, and it happens to align. Because
and look, he understands keep your friends close, enemies closer. I don't know which way it is, but of course he's into all these big technologies that are super dangerous and that have Trojan horses because he's dominating. And so, yeah, watch him. Don't completely trust him. But when he is like the Pat Brady right now, I mean, literally he's reaching hundreds of millions of people a day with stuff that sounds like I said it. Yeah. That does irrevocable damage to the New World Order. So Christ said you judge a tree by its fruits. Darth Vader just threw Palpatine down the reactor shaft. I mean, so what am I supposed to do at this point? Right. Complain about it?
Right. The stuff that he's saying, the truth that he's telling, the stuff that he's spreading to more people that would never see it, I mean, that is what we want. I mean, you can't do that in a dishonest way. You're putting the truth out there. It is true. You're opening people's eyes to what the reality of the situation is. You can't do that. Like, I don't even understand how that could possibly be some sort of underhanded move, a distraction. It's like, no, putting the truth out is an attack on these people, point blank. I mean, that's it. He is the real deal. He is putting out the truth. It's as simple as that.
You know, people ask, and we're going to come back with this big announcement and after this and then get into what's happening at InfoWars. Why are you seeming so happy about this? I've been on here 30 years. I've set up InfoWars 27 years ago. We've been in this building 15 years, almost 16. You know, people like Rob New have been here 15 years. Some people have been here like Wes, didn't like his last name said, great guy, the engineer, good friend of mine. And then, of course, John Harmon. John Harmon's been here 22 years. Wes has been here 22 years. So I got people working with me 22 years. They're like family. And the only thing they're hurting is the crew. Because it'll take me time with other people because I won't own or run anything anymore with these endless judgments. But people are allowed to have their speech. I'm allowed to have shows. And so they can't stop that on the Constitution. They say they're going to try. They think this is the test case. But the thing that'll be hard to reconstitute, use the Sauron analogy, you take the ring away from Sauron, he's still there, he's just not in a body. So, but the truth is, them doing this to me is like giving me 2 rings. Right. So it's ridiculous. All these doors just blasted open for us. The problem is how to reconstitute you guys, and so I'm trying to work on that. But regardless, you guys have gotten a big boost. You're well known. You've done a great job here, and I don't know what the future's going to hold because I'm so busy here on air and fighting to keep us on air as long as possible. I'm not fighting 2 battles at once. When they're successful, and it looks like they are going to be in the next few weeks, next month or so, maybe longer, but conservatively, I think 2-3 weeks. Liberally a few months, when we actually turn it off and it's gone, and the enemy is running around celebrating on the news, we captured it, we got them, we defeated them. It's just like them indicting and then convicting Trump. It's having the opposite effect, and I'm already experiencing it. I'm not going to get into it yet because my thing is just to try to be like a guy that gets into the technicals and tries to put out the high-level understanding of the enemy and get other people to pick it up. Don't like being in a leadership role. I've been doing this so long that I want to kind of be a guru level or like the guy on the mountain, quite frankly, that I can just really think about what I do, analyze specific things every week, have like an hour-long statement about general, overall, arching systems. Not out of laziness, but just out of, that's what I envisioned. But they're never going to let me go away. It's like The Godfather, where he keeps trying to get out of the thing, and they'll never let him go. Instead, it just looks like unbelievable, amounts of opportunity to fight the enemy, and I can't turn it down everywhere. I mean, I could have done 50 interviews a day if I wanted to, and I told everybody, hey, I got to focus on the operation, what I'm doing. I've done very few, and there's just everything's exploding. And these people run around giggling and laughing our enemies, saying, we beat you, nanny boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo. And I'm just like, I don't know what you freaking people think you're doing. I mean, you're starting World War III with Russia. You got flooded borders. You got transgenders running around with hard-ons, with kids bouncing on them at the library. I mean, you're freaking crazy. You lie about everything I said, have show trials with HBO producing it, with scripts, and then you think you're the good guys because you still have corporate media saying so. Yeah, you got some jellyfish still believing your crap, but it's like those pools in the summer in the savannah in Africa where they get smaller and smaller, and now you're just fish like flopping with a ½ inch of water, and I'm in trillion-foot beautiful water of opportunity, just unlimited winning. We'll be right back. If you don't get a high-quality gravity-fed filter from InfoWarsStore.com, please just get one. Now, we sell a unit, stainless steel, that is the highest rated out there. And there's a couple of competitors that are just as good. There's 100 others that aren't as good. It is the best system out there to take thousands of chemicals and compounds down to non-detectable levels. The tap water, the well water, it is a witch's brew. And right now at InfoWarsStore.com, we have a special on the Alexa Pure gravity-fed water filtration system for 10% off. That's huge because there's not much markup in than these because we sell them so close to cost. So get your Alexa Pure water filtration systems and so much more at InfoWarsStore.com. But whatever you do, research what's in the tap water and the well water and start protecting yourself. And all gravity-fed filters are not created equal. We've got the best for the best price at InfoWarsStore.com for 10% off.
Cognitive dissonance is a major issue amongst the left. It can be very stressful dealing with facts you refuse to accept. If you have a family member suffering from this degenerative mental condition, buy them a bottle of Ultimate Fish Oil from InfoWarsStore.com. Studies have suggested that fish oils and fish oil supplementation can slightly lower blood pressure, decrease triglyceride levels, decrease the growth rate of plaque, and provide a soothing reduction in inflammatory responses in joints and the digestive system. Recent studies have suggested that high EPA and DHA fish oil can stimulate immune function by increasing the concentration and activity of immune cells. It worked for my family, and now I can have a logical and calm discussion about actual facts that pertain to reality. Get your Ultimate Fish Oil for a friend, family member, or yourself at InfoWarsStore.com.
Thank you for joining us here today. Earlier this afternoon, Donald Trump was arraigned by a Manhattan grand jury on 34 felony counts.
This case is an abomination. You know, it's obviously political. 7 years to try to come up with this case. They're just wrong on the law.
The only crime that Donald Trump is being prosecuted for is the crime of running for president.
Political persecution at the highest level.
They've quite frankly given up on trying to beat him at the polls. Either going to steal it or stop it by law firm.
A Democrat prosecutor elected on a Get Trump platform.
What's going on here is a disgusting disgrace. It is war on Trump, it is war on the Republican Party, and it is a war on the Republic.
This case is the weakest case I've seen in 60 years of teaching, practicing, and writing about criminal law.
And I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
This judge, I mean, you don't need a prosecutor if you have a judge like this. This judge is not on the level.
It's a terrible case, but the judge has been pretty much a rubber stamp on everything that Bragg has wanted to do.
They're perverting the system of justice. You know, that's where the danger lies. The corruption and subversion of our institutions by the left.
This is the Democrats' entire strategy, to confine President Trump to a dirty criminal courtroom and keep him off the campaign trail where he can bring his winning message to voters across this country.
New York has become a legal banana republic. They are so determined to get Donald Trump.
Look, convicting Donald Trump, that's all they have.
I think they have no cards, and they're depending upon Trump getting convicted.
That Trump train doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
The only verdict that matters is the verdict at the ballot box.
You're tuned in to the American Journal with your host, Alex Jones. Watch it live right now at band.video.
Monday, June 10th, 2024 edition of the Alex Jones Show, and I'm very honored to be here with you. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Well, here's the big announcement, and the announcement is Tucker Carlson is launching a nationwide tour, and I'm going to be a part of it, one of his main guest speakers. And you can go to Real Alex Jones right now on X, and we just put out a post minutes ago with direct links where you can get tickets now. It will sell out. These arenas are 10 to 50,000 size arenas. He's easily been filling 50,000 arenas. I am so honored to be part of this historic tour with the great Tucker Carlson. In the year 2024, Tucker Carlson is hands down the greatest journalist in the world. Get your tickets now because they will sell out. And there's a lot of other exciting stuff coming on the Tucker Carlson front. And there's a lot of exciting stuff coming on some other fronts that I'm not going to tell you about right now because I'm not at liberty to. But as I always tell the New World Order, I don't know how all this is going to end. But if you want to fight, you better fucking believe you got one. And also, as they said to Elon Musk, we're going to take your money away if you don't let us tell you what to say. And he said, to that I say, go fuck yourselves. Did you hear what I just said? Go fuck yourselves. So that's where we are to the New World Order. Go to Infowars.com. We just got an article up there promoting it as well. And this is going to be a big deal. They told me all about the events that are going to go down there. They're going to be amazing with surprise guests and so much more, not just main speakers like myself. It's all listed on the site. Russell Brand, Vivek Ramaswamy, Tulsi Gabbard, Glenn Beck, Dan Bongino, Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk, Kid Rock, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Roseanne Barr, President Bukele, Donald Trump Jr., Alex Jones, and others. I am, again, so excited to be part of this. Find all the details at TuckerCarlson.com or following him on X, or simply go to Infowars.com where we have links. And this is going to be all over the news when Trump's probably going to be locked up in jail by then. This is going to be surrogate rallies for Trump, basically. We need these things to have jumbotrons out in the parking lots because they overflow. I mean, we need this to be ultra massive. So, folks, this is really, really important on so many fronts. And then a lot is going to come out of this. I'll just leave it at that. Who knows who else will then, in a while, be out on the road. Something that the establishment's been trying to pin me down and keep me from doing. But that will be no longer the case. So we're going to do some very impressive things together here in the near future. And as I've always said, the future is never old.
I got to say, it's overdue that something like this has happened because, of course, 2020, the campaign was completely abolished because of COVID-19. Nobody was doing any events. But in 2016, it wasn't just Trump going around the country holding rallies. There were rallies everywhere.
We were doing
it. Of people. Yeah, we were doing it.
Tea Party.
Everybody was doing it. I mean, there were big clashes at the Battle of Berkeley because Milo Yiannopoulos was going to speak.
And that's why they're trying. That's why they're trying to bring. And Antifa was trying to attack people so they couldn't go on the street. Then came in the Proud Boys.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important. They're going to try to bring the bird flu back, but people aren't buying it.
Yeah.
They're trying to use that to shut down these rallies. But remember, they said, oh, Democrats and Black Lives Matter, they're safe. No one else can have rallies.
They actually put out, I had the image
study
last week. They had announcements that said personal gatherings up to 12 people, protests up to 100 people. They actually officially would change the rules. If you were a protest, then you could have extra
guys,
people.
Type into search engine, study shows Black Lives Matter protests help COVID.
Right, it was miraculous.
It's good for stopping.
St. George Floyd would protect you.
Everybody else, though, could not have a rally.
It was so upset. I mean,
you couldn't see your grandmother in the hospital or the nursing home, or grandpa or your father or mother. But don't you worry, Black Lives Matter is mostly peaceful.
If you want to loot a Foot Locker, then yeah, you're totally protected. As soon as that happened, I mean, everything should have fallen apart. The fact that the people didn't realize that the whole thing was a scam the minute they said you can go protest. But regardless, I'm so excited for the idea of a roving band of dissidents going and having these massive rallies in U.S. cities. This is going to infuriate people because they can't censor real life.
And tickets are now on pre-sale for the groups and organizations that put the link out, that we put out, that Tucker put out today. Tucker's folks contacted me a few weeks ago. I said, do you want to be obviously be part of this, promote this? I said, absolutely. And so everybody should go now to Real Alex Jones, where I put out that post, or to Tucker's X account, or TuckerCarlson.com, and you need to go get the tickets now.
This is the Ticketmaster link that we're showing right now, and it shows that today there is going to be a pre-sale for these tickets. These tickets will go on sale to the general public on Friday. So do get your tickets if you're interested in this. They will sell out, guaranteed.
And from what I was seeing, that they've got upfront more elite tickets as well.
And As I understand it, it's almost going to be Tucker Carlson doing his show live in front of arenas. Like, it's not just going to be sort of.
Let's explain it. He's going to do big interviews and have other. He's going to give speeches, do his show, have other speakers. It's going to be wild.
And talking about the day's event, like what's going on that day, talking about the campaign, not just stump speeches, but actually talking about what's going on a day-to-day basis.
And here's what's happened. If you go back to the early 1970s, Hollywood-type money, it was Hollywood basically, had taken over Nashville. This is an analogy. Stay with me, folks. It's a true story, but it's an analogy to what's happening now, or parable. It's definitely analogous. And so the people controlling Nashville would tell you how to dress, tell you what to sing, tell you how to do it. And then they would say, we don't really like how Willie Nelson's behaving. We don't really like how Chris Christopherson's behaving. We don't like how Waylon Jennings is behaving. And they said, screw you. Then, too big for them to control, Johnny Cash came in and joined them and said, screw Nashville. You know, he lived there and was the king of it at the time. And so within about 4 years, they went from being less than 10% of country music rallies and sales and events, concerts, to being over 60% of it, just 5 or 6 people. And then everybody wanted to be outlaw country then. Now, that was just being outlaw country, people telling you how to dress and how to sing and, you know, what to do. And folks saying, screw you, we're outlaws. We're being real outlaws against open borders, world government, World War III, trying to cut your son's pee-pees off, all the poison shots, world government, total insanity, devil worship everywhere, pedophilia everywhere. And we're being censored. We're being attacked, trying to throw us in prison, and are putting people in prison. And they admit it's the CIA and the Justice Department with big think tanks doing this with big tech. And so Elon Musk is smart enough, and everybody else is smart enough to say, man, the future is fighting this. Now, people like Tucker got on board, started waking up 12 years ago, came to apologize to me. Sounds like we're full of it. It's here right now, and you've seen his process now. He's as hardcore as I am. Same thing with Joe Rogan. But everybody else now is getting on the bandwagon and understanding this, because that's where this is going. We're the real rebels, folks. We're the real outlaws. I'm the real black sheep. Everybody knows it. And you don't get blacker in the black sheep than Alex Jones, okay? So this is like the Black Watch of the black sheep, and I'm proud to be there. And here's the deal. I talked about this decades ago, knowing this moment would come because God literally laid it on my heart as like a vision. I mean, it was a mental vision, and I've told the story over 1,000 times on air until people say, please don't tell the story again. But I've in the restaurant, 9 o'clock at night, done my show for 2 hours alone. Nobody's in there. They're starting to clean up. And it's like, you're going to launch this big movement with all the data of all the great old timers that never got a lot of press or coverage. You're going to get attacked and demonized. But when the whole New World Order comes in the next 20, 30 years, then you're going to get massively persecuted, but it's not going to matter because everything you say is going to come true, and then you're going to explode in popularity, but you've got to go through the pain of that first. But the real thing is you want to save the children. So that's what I was praying about, wanting to fight these people. And then we can skip this break, skip it. And then it's going to create this ultra massive awakening of others, and you're going to get to see all of this unfold and all this happen. And I've told that story for 25 years at least. It sounded crazy on air 25 years ago, but it happened. It was like a huge download. It took like 45 minutes. Couldn't even finish my food, even though I like to eat. And so now you're actually witnessing that. Now, the reason I tell that story is, if the Trump campaign would rebel in him being the outlaw. All right, well,
we're still hearing it.
I'm getting a feed here. It's all right. I know you guys don't normally skip the break up. Us for coming here and doing that. We're on air? We're on air? Good. We're on air. Cool. So what I'm trying to say to everybody is, if the Trump campaign understood that they can rebel in the mugshot and rebel in him being the outlaw and rebel in him being the felon who's really innocent, well, now he's not the Dukes of Hazzard that are cool because they're running moonshine against the corrupt establishment. They're up against the corrupt devil-worshipping pedophiles. And so I can tell you the Trump campaign, which I've not even approached or even tried to get involved with, because I know I'm out here doing my job to the masses and already having an effect on all the major influencers. So I don't need to go to Mar-a-Lago. I don't want to dress up fancy and wear a tuxedo. That's not really my bag. I'd rather watch the sunset with my family and swim in the pool or go for a hike or go to, pray to God or eat some enchiladas. That said, the Trump campaign now fully embraces all of this, and I think you're going to see some other surprises. I'm just going to leave it at that. So what's happening is the country and the world is fully embracing InfoWars right at the moment the enemy took it down. And God told me years ago, and I've said this on air, They're probably going to shut us down. We held them off 6 years with total lawfare, total fraud, rigged courts, total scams. And now at the moment of truth, literally, then they're going to try to strike this down like Obi-Wan Kenobi in front of the future, and we will only inspire them like the Alamo getting destroyed, not dying, but information warfare-wise, the Alamo falling. What does the Alamo falling do to the Texans?
It gives them a couple weeks to get their forces together, gathered for a big assault on San Jacinto, right?
But it also energizes them, yes.
Of course, yeah. It gives them heart. And what was crucial, it's almost symbolic. I mean, it's so epic that everything you just laid out, that at this moment of culmination, InfoWars is being taken out. And it's not cheesy or something, but like the phoenix rising from the ashes, the transformation, it's like it's almost necessary, because the system that you set up with InfoWars Store, it was necessary because the media landscape was so different 30 years ago. It's how you're able to dominate and make the change that you have.
And I was watching last week, you did a great breakdown of this, but it was a necessity. We had sponsors that loved us, but they would go harass them and run them off, which is the original cancel culture 20 years ago. So I said, I'll just start direct selling.
Right. But of course, as people know, if they watch your show, having to deal with the products and trying to get the right ones and trying to, deal with the shipping, it's almost like they don't realize that they are lifting a burden from your shoulders. I think it'll be great for you to be able to focus solely on the information, just strategize and be the tactician that you're meant to be, without having to worry about selling products or keeping InfoWars running. I really think they don't realize what they're doing by striking down InfoWars. They are really opening up a landscape for you to be even more effective in.
And that's the thing is, we're not even spinning that to make it sound like we're winning. That's all they care about, is sounding like they win.
Right.
The whole time I've been straightforward. The whole time I've told the truth. Remember when they were in the news, he's got $300 million, he's got $400 million, and the judge would not even let us in Connecticut or Texas talk because it was all rigged. I had $3 million during the Texas trial. I'd sold my house, and I'd bought it as an investment, so I was able to make money on it. And then I put it in, and then right as the trial is going, they go, hey, your bills are due the last 6 months. It's $3 million. So as of 2 years ago, I've been upside down, and then any new money that came in goes into a bankruptcy account. So you'll see in the news, Jones has $2 million in an account. Well, that's because they sold my ranch.
Right.
So see, it's always, oh, Jones says he has no money. He's got two. It's in a court account, which they have a group over. So that's how all this insane garbage operates, and it doesn't make me feel like a loser. I never even went to that place. I bought it as an emergency backup. I bought it as money for an investment to sell it if I ever needed it. And by the way, I bought it like 5 years ago, doubled it at its sale. And I bought a house for $2 million and sold it for $7 million 3 years later. And I did it purely as an investment, and I put 95% of it, I took 5% to live off of, into this. All I care about is a car that runs and a decent house to live in. And my wife's like, this house is a lot smaller. It's better than the last one. We're totally happy. We don't care. And so regardless, now I can focus on doing these hundreds of interviews that want to be interviewed. I can go on all the big podcasts. I can reach potentially even more people and sit there and do special reports as much as I want. I just feel bad for the crew, but I'm glad you guys understand this and see this, and I've been totally faithful, put in everything I had to keep this going. But they always thought, when somebody gave me all that Bitcoin, I put it all back into InfoWars. The system thought I would just take money and run. They kept thinking that, oh, Jones has got to have a bunch of money hidden. I mean, he wouldn't just be doing this for no money. And now they're back in the news claiming, oh, he's really got more money. But then in between spending and saying, fine, we're getting what he's got, hip, hip, hooray. They spent on the bankruptcy, you have to follow the court, the big Democratic law firms, there's two of them, literally the same ones that went after Giuliani, Trump, it's them. I mean, it's big Democrats. People can go look it up. Guess how much they've spent attacking us in this bankruptcy in the last 2 years, trying to shut it down?
I don't even want to know.
$27 million. Guess how much is estimated? Guess how much the Democrat Party and the Sandy Hook stuff has spent? By the way, the same law firms suing Elon Musk for defamation. Guess how much they spent?
I don't even want to know.
Over $20 million. So we're talking 47 million. 46 million, and I got that number months ago. So $47 million to get $5 million. See, it's not about the money. And they all said, oh, we know he's hiding money. We're going to get in there. We're going to find him or put him in jail. They have the Justice Department that never gets involved. Like 1 out of 1,000 cases came in day one to my case, sent their lawyers and people in to oversee all this. And when I'm in depositions, there's Justice Department lawyers there looking at me like I'm a canary and they're Sylvester.
Right.
Okay, as if I would do anything untoward. Plus, I never deal with money. I've got CPA and accountants, and they deal with it. That's it. So I'm literally don't even touch it. So they're so enraged, so absolutely enraged that all of this crap is going on and that none of it worked, that they now admitted, overhead shot please, in Reuters and a bunch of other publications, the truth. Now, there's some lies mixed into this, but in the main, in the basic, it says in Sandy Hook families agree to Alex Jones bankruptcy liquidation. And then it goes on, well, they had already filed this. This is what they wanted. Because the only other option I have is they're going to kick it out this Friday to the state judge, Judge Guerra, who says she'll do anything.
Right, she'll just liquidate it.
I mean, she got up in the show trial and said in front of the national media, every Alex Jones lawyer that's ever been on this case is a liar and is a fraud. And then she sanctioned one of the most respected lawyers in Texas, Eric Taub, who I've known for 30-something years because my sister, who's younger than me, was good friends and went to school with his daughter and son. So I've been on vacations with this guy. Just a family lawyer, barely involved, had been handling my stuff for like 5 years. But because he was involved in some of the formations of corporations 20 years ago, they drag him in and call this super respected guy a liar and say he lied. Well, now he's suing her, and she's probably removed from the bench because she's a damn liar. So you have to understand, these people just get up and say, he's got $300 million, he's got $400 million, his lawyers are all criminals. This woman is known all over the country now as a complete lunatic.
Right.
Total. She went to the Sandy Hook Truth Against Alex Jones HBO premiere with the red carpet and flashbulbs, got a standing ovation and was part of the event.
Right.
Under law, everything. You get taken off the bench for that. They don't care. They're brazen. They believe they're invincible. They believe because they're in the newspaper and HBO cares about them, that they're good. No, you're betting on the old dying system.
Yeah.
So reading the article, they got the federal prosecutor that runs all this, and they admit the FBI got the suit filed, the chief counsel, all this stuff. Chris Manny, it goes on. While the liquidation will yield only a fraction of the money he owes the families, oh, by the way, we're appealing it. They just say $1.5 billion. They objected to his proposal because it would have kept him in control of both InfoWars and his wealth for many years, while also capping the total amount he would pay towards the defamation claim. The court supervision liquidation will also allow the families to benefit from the immediate asset sales while keeping their claim on Jones' assets alive in the event he accrues wealth in the future. And I go on to say, I don't care. I'll sleep on somebody's couch. I'm never going to be silenced. Absolutely. All you did was draft me into the war 10 times harder. But here's the problem. They said on the courthouse steps of Connecticut and Texas, we don't want money. Don't send any money. Don't support him. We want him shut down. But under law, you're not supposed to be in a case claiming you want money for all this made up stuff they said I did. You have to then do that in the court to be able to have a standing. But now they just admit, yeah, it was never about money. We win. We declare victory. This is just absolutely ridiculous that they've done this and they've engaged in this. But it shows the absolute desperation of the whole operation.
Yeah. Well, and it shows it shows their tactics, right? Because it's not just your lawyers they're going after, they're imprisoning Trump's lawyers. They're going after the people who are defending. Norm Padish just finally had to get his license back because they suspended it. It was appealed and it was all fraudulent.
The appeals court overturned that.
Yeah, they overturned it because it was completely fraudulent. So it's acknowledged that it's fraudulent, but they're going after the lawyers. InfoWars is obviously receiving the most amount of ire right now, and we're actively being destroyed. But I don't think there's a single dissident right-wing outlet that is not under attack right now. This is a full-scale, full-scope attack. Donald Trump in prison, his advisors in prison, Steve Bannon in prison, Roger Stone in prison. I mean, I don't know how people can't see this when it's so ubiquitous, when it's everybody. These people aren't criminals. These people have never hurt anybody.
Absolutely, but go back to 10 days ago or 9 days ago on that Friday. I'm about to leave. More security's coming in. I go, something's going on. I make some calls. I go, yeah, we just heard they're closing the doors at 9 tonight. No judge's order, no reason. And then I go, I have to stay here. Oh, don't be paranoid. We're not going to do it now. Then the next day, it's try it again.
Right.
And because we have a private security firm I hired years ago, but now it's under the control of the CRO. He thinks. I show him the law that I'm the boss. He can report stuff to the court. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's what would make someone suddenly so desperate to try to get me off the air now, even though they've got a path to do it anyways.
Well, look at how everything is coming out, right? Everything with COVID is coming out. World War III is starting. I mean, it is a necessity that they have total control of the media landscape if they're to pull off some of the things that they're trying to pull off right now. And
exactly, the enemy is losing, so they're in full panic mode.
Yep. I really do think that's it. And it's almost like it's like an arms race. It's like we are breaking out. We are becoming more popular. We are dominating in every social sphere that you can dominate in. Meanwhile, they're trying to stop that by increasing their tyranny step by step. It's almost like an arms race of who's going to outflank the other, because right now both sides are going so hard.
And listen, if you order products that you love at InfoWarsStore.com, T-shirts, books, all of that, it will continue to keep InfoWars on. There's a chance they might try to settle at the 11th hour, but I'm not going to settle for controlling what I say and do. I'll be running this company or it won't be here. Right. And then they now admit that's what it's all about, not about money. Yes, this could be your last chance to get products at InfoWarsStore.com, my books, the films, T-shirts, great. But I'll know Friday whether we're going to be shut down or not. You get your orders in now. We ship within a day or two, you'll get it. If they say they're shutting down on Friday, you won't. Then InfoWars is gone. Even if we last a few weeks, I'll have to be honest with you and say I don't think you should order stuff because you may not get it. Okay, right now you will get it at InfoWarsStore.com. But where I know you'll get it is my dad went over 2 years ago. He foresaw all this before bankruptcy, before everything. When he heard me talking about it. Because they're lying, saying all of this money. I was out of money. I wanted to prove I didn't have all this money. I wanted to find out what they really wanted. I knew it was to shut me down, but I wasn't sure. So we've gone through this process to lift our skirts, show we're clean, all this stuff, and just move on. And they're just devastated by that. My dad, without asking me, while my mother wants him to retire, he helped set up a supplement company 12 years ago. She got mad at me when she learned this 2 years ago. He went and got a warehouse, a whole company, website, everything, his products, more products, great products, and started running things saying, when they take you down, I'm going to be there to support you. I'm like, Dad, I can get other supporters. Mom wants you at home. He didn't listen to me. And he's a great bridge in the future to be a sponsor for whatever we do or with a new company owned by somebody else or whatever. It's just good to have. If you want to support my family and support my embattled dad, they've been suing him as well, and get great products, go now to drjonesnaturals.com. Just drjonesnaturals.com, just Dr. Jones Naturals. You don't spell it out. drjonesnaturals.com, and get the immune support, get the next level foundational energy, get all the nano silver products, all the amazing turmeric toothpaste, the tooth whitening toothpaste. My dad's a dentist, an oral surgeon. These don't have fillers. They're full of amazing essential oils. They're concentrate. They last at least twice as long. The Top Brain, the Kava Chill, the Rocket Rest, it's all there. Go there, and that's how you support my family and the embattled operation they're in. That's how you support the sponsor, and they're a sponsor of Free Speech Systems and InfoWars. They pay for these ads. So make sure you mark this down in an ad here. So go to drjonesnaturals.com if you want to stand with us in this critical juncture of history. Mark it down. Whatever happens to us, remember drjonesnaturals.com. Remember Real Alex Jones on X. Remember whatever else happens. But I've not built anything new, done nothing yet, because I'm being faithful to InfoWars until the door is shut, and then we're going to hit the ground running like a starting gun went off. You understand?
And the tour.
Absolutely. And they got the big tour. I'm going on tour with Tucker Carlson. Find out more at Real Alex Jones and at InfoWars.com and TuckerCarlson.com. And tickets go on pre-sale today in just a couple hours at TuckerCarlson.com. Stay with us. Hour number 2 and 3 straight ahead. What do you make of the attempt to take January 6th, which we know was a federally provocateur event at many levels? There were also some useful idiots that got sucked into it, in my view, to now project on that, no, it's not radical Islam that's the big threat. It's not communist China that's the threat. It's the American people and patriots that are the threat. And with straight faces, the CIA has come out and said, oh, we believe a civil war has already begun. We're going to have to arrest all the leadership. I mean, this is what a real authoritarian takeover looks like historically.
The most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
The most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland, white supremacists.
The most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today, white supremacy is terrorism.
Can you speak to that with your historic understanding?
I expect something, again, another distraction. I expect because of what was staged on January 6th and what was staged up in Michigan to kidnap, the fake kidnapping of the governor up in Michigan, Whitmer. I think we're going to see staged events. I really do. I mean, I really do think that do not put past this administration with their thugs, in some cases, that they have access to. Do not put it past them to stage something.
What did he just say?
He said there's a storm coming in.
I know.
We told you what was going to happen, and it did. Now we're telling you what's coming. At Real Alex Jones on X.
There are many claims that Russia has fared better than most big countries during this deadly era of fake pandemics and experimental mandated shots. And so I traveled to Russia last December to see for myself. What I learned was that this is true, but the government is not to credit for this. While elements of the Russian Federation do protect and preserve the Russian people and their culture, the evidence shows that they were administering the same deadly shots as we've seen in the West. The number of deaths in Russia during the rollout of their vaccines exceeded 2.4 million people, making it the worst year of deaths since 1945. Data shows a correlation between vaccination and the increase in morbidity and mortality. And the head of the Russian Ministry of Health urged pregnant women to get the shot, saying it will contribute to a more comfortable and safe pregnancy. It's not the government that is saving the Russian people. It is the people themselves. What I noticed the most about the Russian people is that they are far more united than the American people. And everyone I've talked to here has told me that during the mask mandates and vaccine push, the majority of people unitedly ignored them. The police wore their masks below the chin and didn't enforce them on the people. And employers were forging documents to show vaccination when there was none. They were not fooled, and they had each other's back. Many have told me that this unity is a result of generations of hardship that has embedded the importance of community into every Russian psyche. And I am sure that this is a big part of it. But there is another big factor that has contributed to their unity, which can be adopted by anyone: repentance. Orthodox Christianity used to be the official religion of Russia. It was made illegal during the Soviet Union, and when communism fell, Orthodoxy reemerged in a massive way. Within the first few years, over 20 million Russians were baptized, and many of these people believed that the nation must repent for allowing the Romanov family to be brutally executed by Bolsheviks during the revolution. Millions of Russians believe that repentance is the only thing that will save Russia. I've heard many American Christians say that America must repent as well. But before I came to Russia, I did not understand what repentance was. According to St. John Chrysostom, the purpose of repentance is for healing and transformation. There are 5 paths, and they are so simple that they can be practiced by anyone without submission or conformity to any dogma or belief. The first path of repentance is contrition, or the condemnation of your own sins. In order to improve at anything, you must be aware of your weaknesses. If you want to become a better carpenter, then you need to be aware of what makes you a poor one so that you can change those things. The same goes for everything. And if you want to become a good person, you have to be aware of your own shortcomings. The second path of repentance is forgiveness. It is the overlooking of another person's sins. This is not saying that laws and justice should not be upheld. It is saying that when you are focused on other people's shortcomings, you are wasting time that should be focused on your own. We have no right or power to compel others, but we do have the power and the responsibility to change ourselves. The third path of repentance is prayer, specifically prayer that is impassioned, focused, and comes from the heart. Taking the time to turn our thoughts away from worry, desire, and the mundane, and cultivate the frequency of love and gratitude. The power of prayer has been scientifically measured, and consistent group prayer has lowered crime in the areas it was practiced in. The fourth path of repentance is kind deeds towards others. The world is full of opportunities to show compassion and generosity to others in need. And the fifth path of repentance is humility, becoming more humble in our thoughts, words, and actions. According to these teachings, one must simply choose at least one of these paths each and every day. This is about taking responsibility, which is the root of every healthy society. And the outcome is quite clear. The more people practicing these 5 simple paths, the more their society will heal and transform. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Everybody knows, unless you've been hiding in a cave somewhere for 20 years, that fish oil does incredible things. But not all fish oil is created equal. Most fish oil has been pasteurized, it's been boiled, it's been heated up, and they smash the bones and guts of the fish, and it gets contaminants in it. We sell the highest grade fish oil there is, and it's pure fish oil, and it's not been pasteurized, and it is so good for your whole body, your cardiovascular system, your brain, energy, everything. Next level quality, ultimate fish oil at InfoWarsStore.com right now, and for a limited time, it is 40% off. Ultimate fish oil at InfoWarsStore.com. I want to thank you all for your support. I just want to encourage you at the same time, this is really good for you, so it's a 360 win. Go to InfoWarsStore.com today and get ultimate fish oil.
You're listening to The American Journal with your host, Harrison Smith. Watch it live right now at band.video.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is The American Journal. Flying solo here with you, Harrison Smith. Alex Jones will, of course, return to The Alex Jones Show at 11 a.m. Central Time. We'll take your calls throughout the third hour of today's program, and we'll hit the ground running here with your Daily Dispatch in just a second. We have a lot to talk about. It was a very big weekend for news. Very big indeed. Even just the interview between Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massie is worth doing an entire show on, honestly. The things that Massie revealed, not just about AIPAC having babysitters with all of the Republican and probably Democrat representatives in office, but just the way that Washington really works from the inside. It was really a groundbreaking interview that I'll be showing some clips from a little bit later. But obviously we have this massive right-wing wave in Europe, which is very exciting. And I mean, the scale of this is hard to imagine. You also have Nigel Farage in the UK starting up the Reform Party and taking a massive share of the electorate from the traditional parties, the Conservatives and Liberals. There's just a lot. There's just a lot to get into. So let's not waste any time and get into your Daily Dispatch. Here it is. All right, here it is, folks, your Daily Dispatch for Monday, the 10th of June, 2024. Right-wing tsunami. France stunned after Macron announces snap election following crushing defeat in European Parliament vote, following a historic loss to Marine Le Pen's right-wing party in European elections on Sunday. French President Emmanuel Macron said he is dissolving the French Parliament and will now hold new elections June 30th and July 7th. A high-stake maneuver that the Wall Street Journal says stunned the nation after projections based on early ballot counts came in for Sunday's elections in the European Parliament. The projection showed National Rally garnering around 31% of the vote, twice the support for Macron's Renew party. So that would be Marine Le Pen's party, the National Rally, absolutely dominating. It was the same story in Germany with the AfD. It was the same story in Italy with Giorgia Meloni's party. It was the same story in Poland as well. And we'll go into that in a little bit more detail just on the other side of this Daily Dispatch. But suffice it to say, the right wing is resurgent in a very real way. And I was a little bit suspicious, not suspicious necessarily at this, but questioning of this. And I'm wondering, well, a couple things about it. But one thing is, if you look into this, if you just, start Googling, right-wing wave in Europe and ignore the first headlines and go back to what they were saying a few months ago, it's clear that the people in power were aware that the right wing was going to at least win the elections this year. Maybe they didn't realize how total the domination would be. But they've been preparing for 6 months for this eventuality and have put a lot of things in place to prevent European nations from rejecting things that come out of the EU Commission or that come out of the UN, by implanting within those agreements and those decisions punishments for countries that disobey. So things like the Migrant Pact that they rolled out just before this election took place. Like, they got a lot of things done just in time, just under the wire, because they knew that the right wing was resurgent at this point and that they couldn't do anything to stop it. Now, previously, and we've shown the video a million times, Alex Karp at the World Economic Forum saying, we have the Gotham program from Palantir has single-handedly stopped the rise of the far right in Europe. Talking in past tense, right? Not a promise, but saying we've already done this. We have already dictated and maneuvered and manipulated the political outcome of an entire continent through our information manipulation, through clandestine data manipulation. They think that they've swayed all of Europe away from the far right. Now, of course, we know what they mean by far right. It's farmers that don't want to have their farm shut down, or people in the UK that don't want to live in a 15-minute city like communist China. That's what they mean by far right. And so either they are taking their foot off the brake or off the accelerator a little bit, and they're allowing this to happen for some reason, or the right-wing sentiment, the nativist uprising is such a scale that they can't do anything to stop it. And now they're having to reform their strategy to deal with this reality that they couldn't prevent. Again, we'll get more into that later. Meanwhile, an update to the top story last week about a man dying in Mexico of bird flu. Mexico says bird flu patient died of chronic disease, not virus. A person who contracted bird flu in Mexico died due to chronic diseases and not the virus, Mexico's health ministry said on Friday. Earlier this week, the World Health Organization reported the first laboratory-confirmed human case of the infection with AH5N2 avian influenza in Mexico. In a Friday press conference in Geneva, WHO spokesman Kristen Lindmeier described the man's case as a multifactorial death and noted that experts were still investigating whether he was infected by somebody or by contact with animals. So, to sort of illustrate exactly what's going on here, like what you need to think about when you consider this is they knew that this guy didn't die of bird flu. They knew that he had a variety of different illnesses, and maybe one of them was bird flu, but he wasn't killed by. So why did they announce that he was killed by bird flu? Why did they go out of their way to knowingly deceive the world public into thinking that somebody had died of bird flu? It's very clear that they are doing yet again, exactly the same thing they did last time in maximizing the panic. They want the panic. They want the fear. They are lying already about deaths from bird flu in order to get people scared and vulnerable out of this. So they're doing it again, just right in front of everybody. The first bird flu death, not even a bird flu death, but it got all the headlines, and I've hardly seen this headline promoted, to a minute degree compared to the story of the man dying from bird flu. So they're pushing out the fear porn already. They're pushing out the.
And I've got a pretty interesting parallel here. We're showing this B-roll. This was the first scenes of COVID out of China.
Right.
And if you remember some of the most iconic videos where people were walking down the street and they would just collapse in the middle of the street, like you just saw it on that middle pane of B-roll. And this is the fear, right, that they put out. Man dies of bird flu. That lie is going to make its way around the world twice before the truth gets a chance.
Yep.
Put on its pants.
100%. And of course, it was weird because at the time we were reporting on all of these videos. As you can see, there are literally hundreds of them. But the mainstream media wasn't pumping that up because they didn't want any intervention to take place before it spread all over the world. If everybody knew what was going on in China, that there was a mysterious new illness, and we could just quarantine China or, implement policies to scan everybody coming from China. And I mean, there were ways to contain this at the beginning, but they didn't want to contain it at the beginning. They wanted to wait. They told you to go to your Chinatown and hug a Chinese person. Remember Nancy Pelosi saying that? They wanted the virus to spread in the beginning. So multifaceted attack, a psychological attack against humanity, once again launching ahead of bird flu. People are not buying it as much this time, I don't think. Then we have this, how Israel pulled off high-risk hostage rescue. So they rescued 4 hostages from Hamas. Unfortunately, they killed probably over 200 people in the process. Probably over 200 people. But this is the first time that hostages have been rescued in a very long time during this conflict. The daylight raid was an unusual tactic and risky. The fear, Israeli military officials said, was that Hamas guards would kill the 4 hostages as soon as they detected specialist Israeli counterterrorism teams approaching. But if they could pull it off, it would give Israel a big psychological boost in the war that had been turning into a quagmire while steadily isolating the country from the rest of the world. Some other things to consider about this. And I'll get some more stories here and be able to lay this out fully. But if you remember, when America was desperately trying and failing to stop, or at least in some way mitigate and soften Israel's attack on Rafah, the giant refugee camp, they actually offered intelligence that America has, saying, we'll tell you where the Hamas leadership is, because we know, and you guys are not anywhere near to finding them. So I wonder if that deal went through one way or another. I wonder if it was American intelligence that allowed them to pull this off, or if there's some sort of agreement. And there's also hints and some speculation fired up by some social media posts out of the Biden White House that American special forces are actually operating inside Gaza right now. They posted something referencing that and then immediately deleted it. People have the screenshots, and I'll show you to them a little bit later. But it is interesting that this happens right now. I mean, as far as I can tell from my observation, they really have not attempted at all to rescue hostages. I mean, that has not really been their plan. You can't rescue hostage by carpet bombing an apartment complex. And in fact, you're going to kill the hostage if they are even in there. And that was one of the things that has been coming out is...
Well, not if you carpet bomb an apartment complex that's adjacent from where the hostages are. That way you cause a distraction and
it's all
carry out your ultimate goal of genociding the Palestinians.
Yeah, multifaceted benefits to that.
It's sophisticated.
But from Haaretz, rescued Israeli hostage says, quote, our greatest fear was Israeli planes, as they apparently almost got bombed to death multiple times. Haaretz spoke with the former Israeli hostage Louis Har, who was rescued from Gaza by Israel's army in February. I can tell you what it's like being there. It's hell because the Israelis are raining fire on them constantly. So again, we can get more into that a little bit later. Like I said, a lot of big news to cover over the weekend. Some updates to things like Steve Bannon's case as they are attempting to send him to prison for literally nothing. I mean, absolutely and literally nothing. They, and we can get into it, but the Trump case, obviously, some developments there, some developments with Alex Jones, as you heard over the last hour, some developments of COVID, that whole thing spiraling into criminal activity. I mean, I do wonder, like, why they're letting all this stuff come out now, because this is one of the things about being on top of this stuff from the very beginning, from knowing all of this, from before most people even had heard the word COVID. We knew that it come from a lab. We knew that it was manufactured. It was a bioweapon. We knew that the vaccine would be ineffective and poisonous, but that we'd be locked down until it could be revived. I mean, we knew all of this, obviously. And one of the things about knowing all of this and having the evidence of this, it's frustrating that people aren't getting it. The people didn't come along. People didn't realize what was going on. till now, 4 years later. But then you have to wonder why, because all the evidence is there. We've had all of the evidence the whole time. So why now are people waking up to it? Why now is it breaking through? It wouldn't be a question if all of this information was hidden. It was finally revealed, and everybody learned all at once, and we didn't know the whole time, and they didn't know the whole time, and something came out, and it was revealed, and that would explain why, these truths, these realities, the facts of the matter are coming out, all at once, all of a sudden. But the fact that this evidence has been out forever, why now? Why now is this stuff being revealed? I'm glad that it is, don't get me wrong, but I'm also a little suspicious since there's been no new information come out. There's been no new evidence. There's been the evidence we've had the whole time. It's just being talked about now, which is strange, which is a little bit suspicious. There's also a lot of stories about Hunter Biden over the weekend. But, one of this weekend in particular, I don't know why it was this weekend, happened to be this way, but usually I have a pretty good nose for what is true and what isn't on something like Twitter, where you actually get a variety of viewpoints and some of the more hard to find information from right-wing sources. Usually it's not that hard to sort of just on the face of it go, this sounds like it's legitimate or this sounds like it's fake. And sometimes it stops there. But if something sounds too good to be true, it sounds too much of a bombshell to be true, then usually it's only a step or two to go to a search engine, do some digging, and verify whether it's true or not. This weekend, though, there are things that were coming out, and I can't make heads or tails of it. I mean, it doesn't even exist on Google. It doesn't even exist. And it's weird the way they're doing it. It's got to be some intervention, because I would search things. So there's this video of Hunter Biden or somebody running naked down the hall chasing after a woman. Is that video real? I don't know. I can't tell. It looks real. It looks like the dude's got the tattoos that Hunter Biden has. It's a video very similar to the P. Diddy video, almost suspiciously similar to the P. Diddy video that came out.
P. Diddy video?
The one of him chasing the woman down the
I'm kidding. That's
hallway.
A joke.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there have been multiple. But it's like there's this video, and it's being reported all over Twitter. And then I go to, try to verify it, and there's no fact check about it. There's no story about it on any mainstream media. I'm a little suspicious of it at the top because, one, it's such a crazy thing to see. It's like, how could this possibly be real? But then also it comes out on the weekend. It's like, well, if this was from the court, wouldn't it come out during the week? And I mean, is this just some random other dude doing this? Is the dude Asian, the woman? I don't know. But you expect if, something like this is fake to see fact checks. I go to Google and I search just Hunter Biden trial or something. And it's like the latest news update on Google is 2 weeks ago. And it's like, okay, well, I know there have been news stories about Hunter Biden earlier than 2 weeks. So they just wipe the last 2 weeks of results from the news section, cover this. I don't get it. I don't know. So this is a problem with trying to verify things before bringing them to air when you've got a mainstream media and the Google algorithm preventing you from even figuring out whether something is true or not. I'm sort of at a loss here, and there have been a couple stories like that over the weekend where it seems really like a big deal, but it seems too crazy to be true. So I go to verify it, and it's like I can't verify it or not. It doesn't exist outside of Twitter. So I don't know. So I'll tell you about what I know to be true, but there's a lot of stuff that I would like to report, and I just can't tell whether or not it's legit. We got some migrant news as well to get into. Also, another church has been burned down in Canada. Remember that there is a large-scale campaign of church burnings, sponsored, in fact, inspired by, and given justification by the Canadian government when they supported and gave credence to and gave millions of dollars to fake research the mass graves in schools. There were no mass graves, obviously, but 100+ churches burned. The lie still had a tangible and massive effect. And whether this is a pure accident or whether it is a continuation of the anti-Christian activity around the world, it's hard to say, but it was a beautiful church, Anglican Church St. Anne's in Little Portugal in Toronto. The church was built in 1907 and designated a National Historic Site, and it is now added to the hundreds of churches that have burned in Canada over the last few years. And of course, this has been a continuing phenomenon across all of Europe as Christianity itself fades away from that nation or that continent. You see the churches being burned or being transformed into high-density living or mosques, for that matter, as the cultural, religious, spiritual, and demographic takeover of the West hits full swing. But of course, the backlash has been immense. It's been monumental. To the globalists, it's been catastrophic. Let me just try to give you an idea of just what a big deal the right-wing shift in Europe has been. Go through some tweets about this. From End Wokeness, whoa, a massive political earthquake just rocked Germany. The Liberal Green Party lost 18% of young voters, while the AfD, the far right, made a stunning 10% gain. Young voters are done with the left. 18% drop for the Greens, 10% rise in AfD. AfD, of course, is the party that, you know, you might get stabbed if you're a part of, or the government will spy on you and call you a domestic terrorist if you choose to vote for that Democratic Party. AfD, as a consequence of this, is now the strongest party in Eastern Europe. Again, very interesting. Interesting historical fact that it appears as though being crushed under the boot of communism for a period of time, when church is made illegal and free thought is criminalized, in the long term is actually better for you than several decades of liberal rule and liberalization, right? Isn't that, it's kind of weird how that's happened, that all of the formerly Soviet states are all now hugely Christian, conservative, places like Hungary, places like Poland. They're retaining their demographics. They're not surrendering to the Muslim hordes, the migrant crisis. And yet it's the West, the side that won World War II on the side of democracy and freedom. They're the ones that are just crushed under leftist tyranny right now. It's interesting. The non-capitalist states of Europe, or the non-communist states of Europe, have become more communist, whereas the ones that were plunged fully into the devastation of communism, I guess, learned their lesson and are resisting it far better. It's just an interesting, you know, historical reality, and we're seeing that manifested here with East Germany, you know, formerly communist occupied, actually being the strongest stronghold for AfD. Over 30% of 18 to 29-year-olds in Poland voted for the far-right, I think it's Confederation, in the 2024 European elections, according to an IPSOS exit poll. So again, you can see the staggering rise in popularity of the right wing here as they overtake every other party to dominate in Europe, with 18 to 29-year-olds voting 30% for that far-right party. So the young people in Europe are awakening to this as well. Exit polls show Giorgia Meloni's right-wing party is set to win most seats in Italy, beating the center-left opposition. The National Rally in France looks to have stormed to victory in the EU elections, with the right-wing party amassing almost a third of all votes, according to an official exit poll, which is huge in a multi-party parliamentary system. You know, with a Republican and Democrat, you expect one side to get 50%. 30% for a single party in a parliamentary system is total domination. And part of me was thinking that this was an aberration. Part of me was wondering whether or how much influence the Israeli conflict had on this. As we know, here in America, the pro-Palestinian people are usually far leftists, and AIPAC, which usually is happy to support far leftists, spent a lot of money trying to destroy them here in America. I don't know what the European equivalence to AIPAC is, But I wonder if they didn't help to bring about this right-wing insurgence by working against the left wing that's more likely to support Palestine. So this is great. This is fantastic to see this uprising, this nativist uprising in Europe. It has to continue. But let's not, start patting ourselves on the back quite yet. There's a very long road to hoe.
Well, nitric oxide is a key. It's made by our own bodies again. It's made by L-citrulline and L-arginine, the amino acids. So we're fed. You can get it from beet powder and other things. The nitric oxide relaxes the endothelium, the vasculature. It relaxes the vein. It's a natural blood pressure. In fact, I use the two. Your InfoWars, I keep that on my shelf, and I feed myself the Cardio Miracle, which is just for straight food. It's a different formulation than that one, and the two together are a 1-2 punch. So you get in your food the ability to make what you need and no more.
That was Dr. Judy Mikovits, top research scientist, without me even asking her, telling everybody how incredible this product is. And it's finally back in stock. Nitric Boost is 40% off at InfoWarsStore.com. And it doesn't just have the vasodilation, opening up your arteries and your veins to clean things out. It does so many incredible things. God gave us this compound. So many of the big things you see out there promoted in the media are based on the natural ingredients that are already in this product. So get your amazing Nitric Boost today at InfoWarsStore.com. You need to experience the health, the vitality, the stamina, the libido, everything that comes with Nitric Boost. You've looked at our formula, you like it?
I did, and I do, yes.
Well, I'm not a scientist like you. What do these compounds do creating nitrous oxide? What does it do?
It relaxes the vasculature. So the clot will go through and not restrict. It allows it to relax. It lowers the blood pressure. It has the toxic synthetic lipid nanoparticles similar to the one in the COVID shot. Prior to the COVID shot, the deadliest vaccine, we saw athletes dropping dead on the field, passing out, falling down, all the things.
Yeah, why is it particularly the athletes?
Because they operate at oxygen max, capacity max. They're operating at such a high level in their mitochondria. This is an energy production, oxygen necessary disease.
So they create, that's what they're finding. They turbocharge the blood clots. Yep.
And ischemia, lack of oxygen. So constricted blood vessels too, because athletes are running, they're constricted, they're working so that the blood flows, and it doesn't flow, which is why your nitric oxide product, that new products, I hope you'll show it, because that's a very important thing to have for acute events. Dissolve under the tongue, give you an instant relaxing of your endothelium, your vasculature.
Nitric Boost, exclusively available, 40% off right now, in stock, ready to ship. Nitric Boost, InfoWarsStore.com. Try it, support the InfoWar. It's a 360 win. I talk a lot about the great successes InfoWars has had. I don't think anybody can deny it. And it is because of listeners and viewers supporting us. But when we talk about the crew at InfoWars, people behind the scenes, the researchers, the writers, they really have been the MVPs in this fight. And when we look at Harrison Smith and Owen Schroyer and the hard work they engage in every day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, it's really just incredible. So for myself and the whole InfoWars crew, I thank you for your past support. And I want to encourage you now to realize that InfoWars cannot stay on air if you do not support us. I know you spread the word. I know you pray for us, and that's wonderful. Keep doing it. But most viewers and listeners never go to InfoWarsStore.com, and you never buy great products that enrich and empower your life while at the same time keep us on air. I know that less than 1% of our listeners actually go buy products at InfoWarsStore.com. If just 1% more of you took action and went to InfoWarsStore.com, our funding problems will be over. Please take action now.
Taking a record of the hearts and minds of the American people, it's the American Journal with your host, Harrison Smith.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be opening up the lines for your calls in the third hour of today's program. And you know, it's a strange feeling knowing that this could very well be the last week of shows that we ever do. I know Chase was feeling the same way yesterday on the Sunday Night Live program. He said, this could be my last broadcast, and it very well could be. God willing, it won't be. We may have 2 weeks left. We may have 3 weeks. Heck, we may even have a month. But it feels very odd. It feels very strange. And over the weekend, my dad was asking me, he was like, so have you been thinking about, what you'd want to say in these last 5 shows? I mean, this is it. What do you, and it's like, well, no, I'm going to do the thing I've always done. I'm going to keep doing what I've always done. What else is there to do? The world's being taken over. The conflicts that we've talked about here on InfoWars, on American Journal, for the past 3 years are all coming to fruition. It's exactly like we said. And the amazing thing is how much we've gotten right, how little we've gotten wrong, how everything has played out exactly as we thought it would, because we were operating off the assumption that the world, and America in particular, is run by depopulationist psychopaths that are ready, able, and willing to use any power they can accrue in deceitful and nefarious ways to achieve their ends. If you start with that assumption, it turns out everything fits in perfectly. And it's amazing because when you have that as a northern star, when you have that as a guiding light to what you're doing, we don't need teleprompters. We don't need managers and producers telling us what to say and how to say it and what the talking points are. And we can do that for 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, for years on end. Do you have any idea how much time that is, how many words that is to be spoken? I've just been, obviously, as we are approaching the end here, making preparations like downloading all the show archives. And I encourage you to do that as well. If there's anything from InfoWars that you think needs to be passed on to the next generation that deserves to be saved, do it now. Do it now. And it's not like InfoWars is just going to stop and everything's just going to stay up. I mean, they'll take it down. It'll all be taken down. So news stories, articles that you've seen that you always reference, videos that you would miss if they were to go away, go grab them now. So I was downloading all of our shows from American Journal, and just the number of shows that we've done is staggering. It is monumental. 3 hours a day, 250 plus shows a year. For 3 years at this point, it has been quite a journey. Quite a journey indeed. And we're seeing the rising of the awakening across the globe in a very real way. What's happening with Alex Jones is waking people up right now as we speak. I was talking to Reese, our editor, on Friday. He was telling me about a person he knew from Australia, of all places, who only just this year heard of Alex Jones and the New World Order and learned about all this stuff. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine making it until 2024 without waking up? You would think it's impossible. You'd think if you'd made it this long, you're never waking up. That's not true. People are waking up. People are seeing finally what's actually going on. Even if just in some tangential way, even if they aren't fully aware of everything, they aren't awake to the full scale of the corruption. It's not just cliche. It's not just, I'm not just saying it to boost us with no reason. The awakening is on. It is happening, and the more we awaken, the harder they try to crush us. The harder they try to crush us, the more people awaken. It's this feedback loop. I don't know who wins at the end of this. I don't know which side establishes dominance or whether that side can establish dominance before enough people wake up. But there's a spiritual and philosophical and political awakening that really just needs establishment manifestation to take root. That's why people are so into Donald Trump. That's why we're so into Donald Trump. Donald Trump represents a way in which this awakening can be politicized and can cause fundamental change. But it's only going to grow, and at this point it's disorganized and grassroots. But soon it will coalesce around a political figure or a political movement. And at that point, it's all systems go, firing on all cylinders, take over, purge. It's coming, folks. It is absolutely coming. And it is already here in Europe to some degree. And again, when we left off in the last segment, I was saying that, you know, parts of this kind of made me raise my eyebrow. Okay, how do you go from Europe being totally and fully and completely captured by leftists to suddenly there's a right-wing wave and every country in the EU is replaced by right-wingers running it? I mean, this is crazy. How does that happen? But then if you actually look at some of the numbers, it's not so unexpected of an achievement. These are the percentage of EU seats won by far-right Nationalist Rally or Nationalist Front members. In 1999, it was just 5%. By 2004, it had climbed up to nearly 10%, dropped again in 2009 to 6%. In 2014, it was nearly 25%, remained around that level at 2019, and in 2024, it's gone up to 31.5%. So what is that? That means, first of all, 31.5 is a huge share of a parliamentary system. But also, this is a steady increase. This is a year-over-year raise, not a flash in the pan, it's here and then it's gone aberration. This is what it's going to take. It's not going to be a single vote revolutionary overthrow. You know, that may come down the line. But for now, pumping this information out, making the arguments, showing the effects of their policies, it's having a tangible and revolutionary effect incrementally as time goes on. From Chief Trumpster, Brown is the far-right identitarian party. This is in France. And you can see the whole map. The whole map, essentially, has gone to the far-right parties. So again, this isn't one or two strongholds swaying the whole electorate. This is a full-scale national uprising. It's absolutely amazing to see. Macron has, of course, called for snap elections and says the rise of nationalists, of demagogues, is a danger for our nation, but also for Europe, for France's place in Europe and the world. See, this is our democracy. This is our democracy, after all. And if the people in our democracy want to vote for right-wing parties, it's not our democracy's job to give the people what they want. In our democracy, you get chastised and castigated and spoken down to by your leaders for choosing the wrong thing. It's our democracy, after all. You either choose what we want you to choose and you get it, or you choose what we don't want you to choose, in which case we do it anyway, and we shame you and criticize you and possibly even criminalize your activity for daring to oppose us. It's our democracy, after all. Belgium's globalist Prime Minister Alex de Croo has resigned after the brutal EU election in Brussels. Gregor Braun has been elected to European Parliament. He was kicked out of Poland Parliament for using a fire extinguisher on a menorah. But people have spoken. He will now be in European Parliament. We'll be back on the other side with more.
Tap water is turning the frogs gay, and it will turn you gay too. First off, gay people are awesome. I don't think that's a problem at all. And secondly, if you noticed at the end of that video, he advertises water filters. Interesting.
I have an opportunity for viewers and listeners that is the best in my 23 years on air. Obviously, water filtration is a great thing. It's a good thing. And I've had water filtration sponsors since the day I got on air. And over the years, I learned a lot about water filtration. I learned what the best was. And Alexa Pure family of stainless steel gravity filters take the already decent and good systems that were out there and took it to the next level of quality, durability, customer service, replacement filters, you name it. Now, the Alexa Pure Pro is their biggest, nicest stainless steel unit that does the most gallons an hour. For your home, business, your kitchen, your RV, whatever, it's amazing. Cuts out all the bad stuff, leaves the good stuff in, the good minerals. This is the gift of life, the gift of health. It's amazing. Alexa Pure Pro at InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139. I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap. Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. It's not funny. I'm going to say it real slow for you. Gay. Frogs. Won't you fight for your life? Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. I don't like a frogs. Gay. Friggin' frogs. Frogs. Friggin' frog crap. Won't you fight the frogs? It's not funny. I'm going to say it real slow for you. Frogs. For yourself. I mean, this is what they're... What do you think tap water is? It's a gay bomb, baby. And I'm not saying people didn't naturally have homosexual feelings. I'm not even getting into it, quite frankly. I mean, give me a break. You think I'm like, shocked by it, so I'm up here bashing it because I don't like gay people? I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Ultimate Fish Oil is back in stock at InfoWarsStore.com. And we know that fish oil has been one of the most popular, if not the most popular supplements for decades in the United States. Many people consume fish oil that they get at the grocery store, that they get at the pharmacy, but Ultimate Fish Oil from InfoWarsStore.com is a superior product, and there are so many different reasons why you should be getting this product from InfoWarsStore.com instead of the generic brands or the name brands at your pharmacy or the grocery store. Okay, so the first reason why you want to check out Ultimate Fish Oil at InfoWarsStore.com is because there are studies that show that fish oil can help with things like lowering your blood pressure. It can also help with things like brain development. Studies have been backing that up for years. And finally, things like inflammation can also be reduced for those who consume fish oil. Now, Ultimate Fish Oil is not just your generic type of fish oil, but it is brought to you by InfoWars, brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com. So this targeted release fish oil not only helps your heart, helps your brain, helps with inflammation, but it keeps InfoWars on the air. Now, we know we are at a really fishy time in the history of the United States of America. And if you want to make a difference in your own life and your own health while simultaneously making a positive impact and difference in the world, then going to InfoWarsStore.com and getting Ultimate Fish Oil is a great way to fight the machine while fighting for your health. Visit InfoWarsStore.com today and get Ultimate Fish Oil now. Take the leap, grab the Ultimate Fish Oil, and let's show the world what you're truly capable of. The question isn't who's going to let you, it's who's going to stop you. Visit InfoWarsStore.com right now and get Ultimate Fish Oil.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the American Journal, Infowars.com, banned.video. It may be your last chance to get Infowars products at InfoWarsStore.com. Go there now. Make sure you're also following all of us on Twitter, X, as it's now called, at Real Alex Jones, at Infowars, at Infowars Journal. I am at Harrison H. Smith. Make sure to follow there because whatever happens with InfoWars, we're not just going to go quietly. I mean, we're not just going to fade away, are we? Don't be ridiculous. Tucker Carlson, I have to say, I don't just want to just gush about the guy. But my God, the interviews that he has are so good. Who would have thought I'd spend an hour listening to Thomas Massie describe how to build a timber-framed house? But I did. It was thrilling. He had another one, which I don't know if it was a recent one or not. It was just sent to me about the Transition Integrity Project, breaking down the way that the intelligence communities have been captured themselves and are now capturing the rest of the United States. There's been a variety of interviews that Tucker Carlson's had that for some reason are just so much more packed with information, so much more informative and compelling than anything else. And his interview with Tom Massie, not an exception, it's like a example of this. It's a paramount example of what Tucker Carlson has been producing recently. And some of the things that I learned from Massie's interview, I mean, rethink how I even picture the function of government in the modern day. It really is incredible. Cannot recommend enough that you go watch the Thomas Massie interview. Even just to hear his Mitch McConnell impression, that alone is worth it. But the big takeaway, the top clip I've seen spread around, is what Thomas Massie says about AIPAC. Not just that AIPAC has babysitters for every member of Congress, which is terrifying, which is, kind of the biggest conspiracy ever. Hard to express. I mean, you've got lobbyists for a foreign nation controlling your congressman on a one-to-one basis, every single one of them. It's wild, truly wild. But there's so many other things that go into this. And we'll cover that here on the other side of this clip. But here is a segment of the conversation between Thomas Massie and Tucker Carlson about Thomas Massie's conflict with AIPAC. Let's watch.
They're not registered.
Is there any other Republican who has your views on this?
Well, I have Republicans who come to me on the floor and say, I wish I could vote with you today. Yours is the right vote, but I would just take too much flack back home. And I have Republicans who come to me and say, that's wrong what AIPAC is doing to you. Let me talk to my AIPAC person. By the way, everybody but me has an AIPAC person.
What does that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are, firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
I don't know how it works on the Democrat side, but that's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to DC, you go have lunch with them, and they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them. So I've had
that's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to, dial those ads back.
Why have I never heard this before?
It doesn't benefit anybody. Why would they want to tell their constituents that they've basically got a buddy system with somebody who's representing a foreign country? It doesn't benefit the congressman for people to know that, so they're not going to tell you that.
Have you seen any other country do anything like this? Like
no.
Russia obviously determines the outcome of our elections. We keep hearing that. Does anyone have a Putin guy that they talk to?
Not only do they not have a Putin guy, look, they don't have a Britain guy. They don't have an Australian guy. They don't have a Germany dude. It's the only country that does this, that has somebody that uniformly. I guarantee there's some spreadsheet at AIPAC where the AIPAC dude who's matched up with the congressman is there, and then all the congressman's votes on the issue. Oh, has the congressman been to Israel? They pay for trips for congressmen and their spouses to go to Israel. I may be I mean, I'm not the only Republican who hasn't taken the AIPAC trip to Israel, but I'm probably one of a dozen that hasn't taken that trip, and the other ones just haven't got around to it.
What's the trip like? Do you know?
It's kind of like, I think, vacation-y. You go see the wall, you go see the sites, things like that.
It's such a great, I must say, it's such a great country. Jerusalem especially is just such a wonderful place that's got to have a big effect.
You go like swim in the Dead Sea.
Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
Not on an AIPAC trip, but right. I would recommend it to anyone.
Are you sure it wasn't an AIPAC trip?
I paid for it myself. No, I mean, it's just funny. I mean, I am a legit lover of Israel, of the place Israel. Right. I like the people, and I love the food, and like the whole thing is so great.
Look,
but that's distinct from the government of Israel, which is just a foreign government.
My sense is the people are very entrepreneurial.
Totally.
They're publicly minded. They care about their country. That they're generally good people, right?
That's certainly been my experience in trips there for sure. It's great. It's just I think it's probably one of my favorite, maybe my all-time favorite place to go with my family. But that's just a completely different thing from taking orders from its government.
Everyone but me has an AIPAC person. Now, let me tell you some things you didn't see in that clip that he mentioned. AIPAC spent $400,000 on ads trying to get rid of Thomas Massie. $400,000 in a single congressional district in northern Kentucky. That's how much it's worth to them to not have this one fly in their ointment, Thomas Massie. He also talked about the fact that AIPAC gave Congressman homework. He called it homework. Write a letter, write a statement about why supporting Israel is so important. Thomas Massie's like, are you giving me an assignment? No, I'm not going to do this. So, well, it's fine. Just take what Rand Paul wrote and put your name on it. It's not actually important that you believe this. We just need to know that you'll submit. It's just a symbolic priming. It's a psychological priming issue that we need to know that you're willing to do things for us. So every person has an AIPAC handler. That would be the correct term for that. AIPAC is willing to dish out $500,000 on a single race in northern Kentucky. They still failed, by the way. Thomas Massie got 75% of the vote, even with the endless attacks against him. But another important thing to understand is that while AIPAC has been around for a very long time and has never had to register for the FARA, foreign aid recipients have to register, not AIPAC, though, for some reason. But prior to, I think it was 2005, AIPAC still at that point was a massive organization, was hugely influential, but was not registered as a PAC, a political action committee, so it couldn't actually donate money. So you have to understand, the money that AIPAC provides is important. More important than that is the influence. More important than that is if you are certified by AIPAC as approved by them, you're not just getting money, you're getting access to media, you're getting friendly coverage in newspapers, you're getting access to industrialists who can either give you money or help to funnel support your way. You can get all the matzah you want, all the unleavened bread you can eat getting on AIPAC. It's not only about the money, it's about the influence. That's where their main power comes from. The money is almost the icing on top of the cake. We'll get more into this on the other side. Stay with us for the third hour of American Journal.
Good evening, America. I thought we'd take some time out of our daily lives and sit down for a nice little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak. I suspect now even calls are being placed from the White House to members of Big Tech. I can almost hear George Takei and Stephen King tweeting furiously on their phones. And very soon, federal agents will be on their way. Why? Because words lead us to the truth. And the truth is, there is something very wrong with this country, isn't there? cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression, and where once you had the freedom to object, until now you have had censors and systems of surveillance, coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission. How did this happen? Who's to blame? Well, certainly there are those who are more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable. But truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. Oh, I know why you did it. You were afraid of the Orange Man. Who wouldn't be? Mean tweets, funny jokes, and fights with Rosie O'Donnell. Fear got the better of you, and in your panic you turned to Joseph Robinette Biden. He promised you war. He promised to forgive your student debts and make reparations for slavery. And all he demanded in return was your silent, obedient consent. So if you have seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest you allow the 5th of November to pass unmarked. But if you see as I see, if you feel as I feel, if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me at the ballot box, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgot.
There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the InfoWar.
You're listening to The American Journal with your host, Harrison Smith. Watch it live right now at band.video.
Welcome back, folks. Third hour of American Journal is on. We'll open up the phone lines for your calls very shortly. Of course, one of the big stories over the weekend was Thomas Massie revealing on Tucker Carlson's program the existence of AIPAC babysitters, handlers for every single Republican member of Congress. Some other things that weren't in that clip. Are Thomas Massie talking about the effectiveness of AIPAC, that in the last few months, there have been 16 votes on Israeli issues. There have been more votes dealing with the issues of Israel than there have been dealing with the issues of Americans. Like, that's literally, that's what he said, which is insane. It is completely and utterly wrong. It's just wrong. And I'm glad people are realizing this now. And I'm glad that the claims of anti-Semitism aren't working anymore, because it doesn't matter how much you love Jews, it doesn't matter. To understand that there's a foreign nation who has operatives who dictate what American policy is. What? This is bonkers. This is infuriating. This is why we've gotten to where we are. Our congressmen, here's the issue. The American people don't have a AIPAC. And it doesn't even make sense. Even just saying this, is so bizarre. The idea is supposed to be that the congressman is the representative, obviously, right? The congressman is the representative of his people. He's the one who's supposed to know about and care about and push for their interests. So it's like that is the role that he's supposed to. But I guess on top of that, now we need another person who can go and actually tell the congressman what the interests of the American people are. So it's almost like you have the congressman and the shadow congressman. The congressman ostensibly is supposed to represent the interests of his people, but he doesn't know what they are or care what they are or do anything in that regard. And you've got the shadow congressman, who's the AIPAC representative, who has very clear views of what they want for their foreign country. And they make the demands of the congressman. The congressman goes and puts that to a vote and supports that. Again, it's so bizarre, because it's like, okay, so I guess we need an AIPAC for us. We need a American Political Action Conference just to support with people that they're actually supposed to represent. But it's like, no, that's what the congressman is supposed to be, but he's not that anymore. Now Americans don't have a representative who's actually pushing for their issues, and the congressman is only pushing Israeli issues. So what is this? It's not democracy. It's not a republic. This makes no sense. 16 votes for Israel, 0 for America. One of the other interesting things, now again, it's not all about money, because AIPAC has influence and networks of communication and resources that they can activate for your benefit, which is an important thing to understand how this influence operates. But then the statement that Massey said, he said, Congressman will secretly come to him and say, oh, I want to vote for you. You're right, but I just can't. My AIPAC person will be mad at me, which, for one thing, Thomas Massey should just tweet that out every time it happens. Hey, Ted Cruz just told me that he wanted to vote, but that AIPAC told him not to. What a shame, Ted. That'd be nice. The other thing is that they say, we'll talk to our AIPAC guy. We'll see if, his exact quote, see if they can dial it back. See if they can dial back some of those ads they're running against you. The ads weren't dialed back, folks, right? They were only expanded. The influence only flows one direction, you understand.
Your cardiovascular system is under attack. Everybody knows it. And I've got in my hands 2 products that are absolutely insane when it comes to what they do for your body and your overall health. One of them is the highest grade fish oil you can find. Everybody knows how good fish oil is. This is as good as it gets. And when you purchase it at InfoWarsStore.com, you support the broadcast of 360 Win. And then, of course, Nitric Boost. You've heard all the rage about this. A whole bunch of concentrated natural compounds that clean out your blood and clean out your cardiovascular system. Everybody should be taking both of these products at InfoWarsStore.com. And both of them, by the way, are 40% off for a limited time. Now, this sale is going to end in about 2 weeks because we've already sold out of more than half of these products since they came back in. But if you want to get Ultimate Fish Oil and Nitric Boost for 40% off, get them both today at InfoWarsStore.com. And I want to thank you all for supporting the broadcast. I want to thank you all for spreading the word, because without you, we are nothing.
You're tuned in to the American Journal with your host, Harrison Smith. Watch it live right now at band.video.
All right, welcome back, folks. We'll move on to some other political topics, and we'll take your calls as well. Go ahead and open up the phone lines for your calls now. 1-877-789-2539. 1-877-789-2539. Give us a call here on the American Journal. We have some interesting stories over the weekend from the left, from the Democrats. They are just completely collapsing. It is something to behold. We'll get to that in just a second. But obviously, turns out, a whole right-left paradigm, as we've been saying for years, and as Alex has been saying for decades, it's a lie. The left-right paradigm is a deception. And a lot of that has to do with the power brokers behind the scenes, organizations like AIPAC, of which AIPAC is simply the superlative, the paramount, the ultimate practitioner of these influence tactics. This isn't anything new. This is not anything. Don't let anybody tell you this is something that just came about recently. We have a video from years ago, Cynthia McKinney explaining that every congressman, and she was a Democrat, so Thomas Massey was saying, I don't know about the Democrats, but every Republican has an AIPAC handler. Well, Cynthia McKinney was a Democrat, and at the time she served, members of the American government, the representatives of the American people, were forced to sign a pledge to support a foreign nation. So let's go now to this video from years ago of Cynthia McKinney laying out just how thoroughly controlled by a foreign nation our government is.
What I was doing was servicing the needs of my constituents. And I was not allowed to do that because I did not toe the line on U.S. policy for Israel.
What line is that they wanted? Were you told directly that you had to toe a line, or explain that to me?
Well, every candidate for Congress at that time had a pledge. They were given a pledge to sign. And I was new on the scene. And so the pledge had Jerusalem as the capital city, the military superiority of Israel.
American Congress people have to sign this pledge.
Yes, you sign the pledge. If you don't sign the pledge, you don't get money. So, for example, it was almost like water torture for me. My parents observed this. I would get a call, and the person on the other end of the phone would say, I want to do a fundraiser for you. And then we would get into the planning. I would get really excited because, of course, you have to have money in order to run a campaign. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the planning, they would say, did you sign the pledge? And then I would say, no, I didn't sign the pledge. And then my fundraiser would go kaput.
Yeah, it's an issue. It's a bit of a problem. Again, the representatives that we hire who are there ostensibly to speak for us and to serve our interests are prevented from doing so if they don't first serve a foreign nation. So again, this has been going on for a while. Thomas Massie, of course, just speaks openly about it in a very forthright and just upfront sort of way. And it appears as though the outrage about this, the awareness of this, is breaking through to the mainstream. There's a big Twitter space with Donald Trump Jr. on it. And Dan Blitzerian, who even is Dan? I don't even know who this guy is. I've heard his name a bunch. I know he's like a celebrity. He's kind of like an Andrew Tate type guy, right? I don't know. I'm not sure. But he's big enough of a celebrity to get on a space with Donald Trump Jr. And he says directly to his face, this is the issue. This is the problem. This is why Americans can't get anything done, because the people that we send to Washington, D.C. to serve us prioritize others. It's not complicated. It's very simple. And it only gets confused and distracted and hamstrung by claims of anti-Semitism and like bringing in that aspect to it. None of that matters. None of that matters. You've got organs of control. You've got cultural levers, cultural like bottlenecks, where influence from foreign nation come in and dictate what the policy of America is going to be. And people can claim it's anti-Semitic to say that Israel shouldn't have a say in our government. The response to that is, no, it's not. Conversation over. It's just not. It's insane. It is unsustainable. And it has been the cause of quite a bit of strife and suffering in America. Has been for decades. Will continue to be unless something's done about it. So you've got these organs of control. They claim to speak for religious organizations. And we've covered this extensively, right? AIPAC, it's been a topic of our discussion like daily for years. The ADL as well. Right? Hashtag ban the ADL. Exposing things like the lobby that we've played clips from on the show. There's a UK version. There's a USA version. These are documentary series produced by Al Jazeera where they went undercover into AIPAC. And we showed the way that they choose candidates to support, candidates to destroy, how they weaponize their position as self-appointed spokespeople for the Jewish community. We explained how they'll bring, 50 prominent Jews in New York into a room with a candidate, and they'll say, we are the Jewish community. We speak for every Jew. And there's 10,000 plus. I don't even know how many Jews there are in New York, but if they get 20 of them together in a room, they say, we represent all of them. Nobody voted for them. Nobody appointed them. They appointed themselves. And they say, we don't care about what else you believe. We don't care if you're far right or far left. We don't care what your opinion is on abortion or anything else. All that matters to us are these certain checkpoints. Cynthia McKinney laid it out right there, right? Jerusalem being the capital, Iran being prevented from getting a nuclear weapon, endless military support of the UN, vetoing things that are unfriendly to Israel. Like, as long as those requisites are met, right, left, doesn't really matter. Nothing else. They have one issue: Israel. If you're good on that, they don't care what else you believe. That's the one thing. And so what happens is you have congressmen and political people going, well, I don't really feel that strongly about Israel either way, so I'll just go with them because I can get all my other things done on top of that. But then those other things don't get done because the one thing that everybody in the Congress agrees on is the one thing that AIPAC has prioritized. That's the only thing everybody in Congress agrees on. It's the only thing that gets done. They have their people and their influence. It's the only topic that they can actually push a vote on. The American people don't have an AIPAC. That's the bizarre thing. Our AIPAC is supposed to be our Congress, but our Congress is controlled by AIPAC. So now we need another AIPAC, I guess. It makes no sense. Regardless, let's go to this clip now. This is from a Twitter space with Donald Trump Jr. Dan Blitzerian is being asked, what can we do? Why is it that the American government doesn't seem to actually benefit or even like the American people? What do we do about that? And Dan Blitzerian answered in a very honest and frankly obvious way. Let's watch.
How did we get to the point where we have a government who isn't nationalist, who doesn't seem to really care about the country at all? How do we even get to this point? How do we avoid getting to this point in the future in your eyes?
AIPAC. That's how.
Any other indicators other than foreign powers, anything, warning signs we can look out for as a country?
I mean, I just don't understand how you have a country where your politicians have more allegiance to a foreign nation than they do their own. And when you have that, it's impossible for anybody to be operating in the best interest of their country. And when they've got an AIPAC agent following them around and telling them what to do and what to say, I mean, you've got treason, and that's what we have. I honestly think that we have literal treason going on right now, where Israel's interests are being put before America's interests. And as long as that goes on, I mean, I don't have much hope.
We have on stage Mr. Trump. You have your hand raised. Anything you want to add to this conversation?
A few moments later.
What can people do about it, Dan? It sounds like you paint a pretty bleak picture of what's going on in this country. What can people do? How do we address this, or are we just fucked?
I mean, you have to get rid of AIPAC. You have to get rid of, the Israeli control over our country. I mean, there's just because they clearly don't give a shit about it. So,
but I mean, what can the people do? Let's focus on what the average person who has access.
Funny. Well, the average person can demand that their congressman not submit to AIPAC. The average person can look at who AIPAC's endorsing and vote for the other candidate. This is something the average person can do. This is something the average person can very deliberately do. They can encourage their representatives to demand that AIPAC have to register as a foreign agent, as it should have decades ago. There are lots of things that we could do in this regard. And again, the reason that they are doing these things under the guise of serving